The numbers tell a story that seemed impossible just a decade ago. In 2024, for the first time in history, the world invested more in solar energy than in all fossil fuels combined. Solar power installations are now growing at a pace that consistently shatters expert predictions. What we are witnessing is not merely an energy transition. It is the fastest global technological and industrial transformation in human history. This is the story of how solar and wind energy went from expensive, subsidized alternatives to the cheapest sources of electricity humanity has ever known, and how this shift is fundamentally rewriting the rules of global power. The revolution began with a simple, relentless curve. Swanson's law. Named after the founder of sun power, it observed that the price of solar photovoltaic modules drops by about 20% for every doubling of cumulative shipped volume. This learning curve has held true for over 4 decades, creating a virtuous cycle of falling prices, increasing deployment, and further technological improvements. While fossil fuel prices swing wildly based on geopolitics and extraction costs, solar and wind costs have followed a predictable, unstoppable downward trajectory. In sun-drenched regions across the world, building new solar farms is now cheaper than operating existing coal or gas plants. The economic argument has been settled. Clean energy is no longer the morally right choice, it is the financially smart one. The engine of this solar revolution has been China. In the mid-2000s, China made a strategic decision to dominate the global solar manufacturing industry. Through massive, state-backed loans, aggressive scaling of production, and relentless focus on driving down costs, Chinese companies like Longyi and Jinko Solar now control over 80% of the global solar supply chain. They have achieved economies of scale that are virtually impossible for other nations to compete with. This dominance, however, creates a new geopolitical vulnerability. Just as the world grew dependent on Middle Eastern oil, it is now becoming dependent on Chinese solar panels, batteries, and critical minerals. The tools of the energy future are being forged in a single nation's factories. Meanwhile, wind power has undergone its own quiet revolution. Modern wind turbines are engineering marvels. With blades longer than football fields and towers taller than the Statue of Liberty, a single turbine can now power a small town. Offshore wind, in particular, has emerged as a game changer. The strong, consistent winds over the oceans can generate power at capacity factors that rival traditional power plants. Projects like the Hornsey Wind Farm in the UK, the largest in the world, showcase the immense potential of harnessing the power of the seas. The technology has evolved from land-based turbines to massive floating platforms that can be deployed in deep waters, opening up vast new areas for development. The most common critique of renewables has always been their intermittency. The sun doesn't always shine, and the wind doesn't always blow. This is where the second act of the revolution is unfolding, the energy storage breakthrough. The cost of lithium-ion batteries has fallen by over 90% in the last decade, following a learning curve even steeper than solar's. Giant battery farms, known as battery energy storage systems, BES, are now being deployed at utility scale. These installations can store excess solar power generated during the day and release it at night, effectively firming the renewable supply. Beyond batteries, a suite of other storage technologies is emerging, from green hydrogen to compressed air and advanced pumped hydro. The myth that renewables cannot power a modern grid is collapsing under the weight of technological innovation. The impact of this boom is visible on the ground. Vast solar farms are transforming deserts from the Mojave to the Sahara into power plants. Rooftop solar is turning homes and businesses into proactive energy producers, a phenomenon known as prosumerism. Community wind projects are revitalizing rural economies. The energy system is becoming decentralized, democratized, and digitized. This is not just a change in how we generate electricity. It is a change in who controls it, moving power, in every sense of the word, from a centralized few to a distributed many. Part 2. The global impact. Winners, losers, and a new world order. As the green energy boom accelerates, its shockwaves are dismantling the old world order and creating a new one. The 20th century was defined by the geopolitics of oil. The 21st century will be shaped by the geopolitics of sun, wind, and the critical minerals needed to harness them. This transition is creating a new map of global influence, with unprecedented winners and devastating losers. The choices nations make today will determine their place in the energy system of tomorrow. The most profound losers in this new order are the petrostates. Nations whose economies and political power are built entirely on fossil fuel exports, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Venezuela, Nigeria, face an existential threat. The concept of peak oil demand is no longer a distant theory. It is a looming reality forecast by every major energy agency. As electric vehicles replace internal combustion engines and renewables displace power plants, the global appetite for oil and gas will begin an irreversible decline. This will evaporate the primary source of revenue for these nations, potentially destabilizing governments that have relied on oil wealth to maintain social contracts and political control. The world's most powerful cartel, OPEC, is facing the only force strong enough to break it: technological obsolescence. The winners are a more diverse group. China, as the undisputed king of manufacturing, holds a powerful hand. The United States, through its Inflation Reduction Act, is attempting to onshore a clean energy manufacturing base and reclaim technological leadership. The European Union is betting big on offshore wind and a hydrogen economy. But the most interesting winners may be the Sunbelt nations, countries in Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, and Australia that possess phenomenal solar and wind resources. For the first time, these nations could become energy superpowers, not by digging resources out of the ground, but by capturing the abundant energy falling from the sky. This could reverse centuries of energy dependency and create new centers of economic growth. This redistribution of energy wealth has dramatic implications for global security. The oil era was marked by conflicts over pipelines, shipping lanes, and resource-rich territories. The renewable era will see new tensions over supply chains for critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, and rare earth elements, which are essential for batteries and motors. The geography of these resources is very different from that of oil, creating new strategic dependencies and potential flashpoints. However, because sunlight and wind are ubiquitous and cannot be weaponized in the same way as an oil pipeline, the long-term prospect is for a more peaceful and stable world, free from the resource wars that have plagued the fossil fuel age. For the average citizen, this transition means more than just cleaner air. It means a fundamental reshaping of the economy. Millions of jobs are being created in renewable energy installation, manufacturing, and grid modernization. These jobs are often more distributed and localized than those in the centralized fossil fuel industry. Energy prices are likely to become more stable and predictable, insulated from the volatile geopolitics of oil and gas. The electrification of everything, from transport to heating, will create a more efficient and integrated energy system, though it will require a massive upgrade of national grids. The path forward is not without obstacles. The transition must be managed justly, ensuring that fossil fuel workers and communities are not left behind. Supply chains for critical minerals must be made ethical and sustainable, and the immense task of rebuilding the world as energy infrastructure must be accomplished at a speed never before attempted. But the direction is now clear. The green energy revolution is no longer a future possibility. It is a present-day reality. It is dismantling the old energy order, creating new global powers, and offering a chance to build a more sustainable, secure, and prosperous future for all. The age of fossil fuels is ending. The age of renewables has begun.